not everyone can have an opinion. If you don't like MCU Spider-Man for whatever reason, that is completely fine. I know there's a few people in the fandom that don't like the character, but this new argument that has flared up against the MCU Spider-Man movies is just downright delusional. And it's the most clutching at straws argument I have ever seen. But before we do get into that, if you are new around here, I want to urge you guys to subscribe to the channel and join the best Spider-Man community in the entire world. We're so close to 30,000 subscribers, so I would love if we could push to that goal. That'd be absolutely awesome. With that said, let's get into this. So essentially, this has all come about, and it's all mainly taking place on Twitter and Reddit because of something called Spider Mondays. Now, if you've been living under a rock and you don't know what Spider Mondays are, essentially every single Monday for the next couple of weeks, Sony Pictures have been releasing the Spider-Man movies all the way from Spider-Man 1, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1 specifically, up until Spider-Man No Way Home. Currently, on this day when this video is releasing, Spider-Man Far From Home actually will be coming out as well. And essentially, since the movies have been coming out, the fans have closely been watching the box office numbers get lower and lower for every movie that comes out. The only exception to this was Spider-Man 2 that managed to gross the highest out of the current films that have been re-released over Spider-Man 1. But from Spider-Man 3 onwards, the films gradually declined, with box office numbers getting lower and lower. And currently, we don't have the data on Far From Home, but I can guarantee it is going to be the lowest grossing movie out of the bunch. And the argument from some fans here is that because Homecoming was the least successful out of the current re-releases, and Far From Home most likely will be lower than Spider-Man Homecoming, is that apparently this means MCU Spider-Man is bad, and no one is actually going to watch these films because the other two are far superior in Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. I feel like this argument is completely unjustified for two very, very obvious reasons. Number one, probably the most obvious reason, is that in today's current climate and society, some people won't have enough time nor money to see all 8 Spider-Man films, which means that they'll probably go to see the Raimi films, maybe a Tazen film here or there, but by the time the Homecoming films come out, they probably just won't go and see them. And this leads me on to point number 2. Some people see less of a need to see films that came out later because they are more likely to have seen them recently, and also they are more likely to have them on Blu-ray or streaming services. For example, Tom Holland Spider-Man movies are the most recent Spider-Man movies, therefore people feel less of a need to go and watch them. Personally for me, of course, when the films are re-released in the United Kingdom, I am going to go see Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies, possibly even the Tazen movies. However, will I see the MCU movies? Probably not, but I really like Spider-Man Homecoming. Far From Home, maybe not so much, but still, that's not a reason for why I'm not going to go see it. I just don't see the need to. I can either watch them on Disney Plus, or I can go and watch them on a DVD Blu-ray. And people are using this argument as a reason to validate the fact that no one likes the MCU Spider-Man movies. But this also comes with another issue. While this could be a factor based on the fact that Spider-Man 2 performed the best out of the Raimi trilogy, like I mentioned, simply because it is regarded as the best, these box office numbers by far do not represent the general populace. Let's be honest, most of the people that go and watch these Spider-Man movies on their re-releases are going to be Spider-Man fans. It's going to be people that watch this video. It's going to be people like me. It's going to be people like the fans that are arguing on Twitter. I don't think a general fan of Spider-Man is gonna want to go back and re-watch Spider-Man movies that they've probably seen 2 or 3 times before over maybe a new movie that's been released in cinemas maybe this week. Why would you waste your money on going back to watch a film that you've seen probably 2 or 3 times before, like I mentioned, when you could go watch, I don't know, the new Sydney Sweeney movie, or you could go see The Fall Guy, or a film that you've never seen before and is new? Basically, the point that I'm trying to make is that the hardcore fan base that are watching the re-releases do not in any way, shape or form represent the entire populace. Hardcore fans do not represent the general population's view on MCU Spider-Man and never will. People who don't like MCU Spider-Man are a minuscule percent of the population of people that will see upcoming and future MCU Spider-Man movies. And according to metrics for Homecoming, Far From Home, and Spider-Man No Way Home, the general populace and the general fan base really likes Tom Holland Spider-Man. So to think that these box office numbers somehow validate any opinion that MCU Spider-Man is bad, or that Sony should stop making those movies because fans clearly don't like Spider-Man in the MCU or Tom Holland Spider-Man, is just complete and utter nonsense. As long as the general audience buys the tickets and continues to like these movies, Sony aren't going to stop making them. And Sony know this. They're not going to think, oh, no one likes the MCU Spider-Man movies because the Raimi movies and the TASM movies perform better. No, Sony knows that these movies weren't going to perform as well as the Raimi or TASM movies. It's just a simple fact. Also, did we forget that Spider-Man Far From Home and Spider-Man No Way Home are the two highest grossing Spider-Man movies of all time? More people went to watch these movies than any other Spider-Man movie. Just let that sink in. Also, one other thing that I want to touch upon as well is that a lot of fans in the community at the moment that are around my age, maybe 18 to 25, they didn't get to see the Raimi films in cinemas. Like, a lot of fans grew up on the Raimi films but never actually went to see them in the cinema. Rather, a lot of people's first experience with Spider-Man on the big screen was The Amazing Spider-Man. Personally, my first experience of Spider-Man was going to be Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4, but then when it got cancelled, that ended up becoming The Amazing Spider-Man. And consequently, I never got to see Sam Raimi's Spider-Man on the big screen. So going back and watching these films for me on the big screen is going to be an experience within itself. And that way, I feel more of a need to go back to watch the Raimi films on the big screen over something like Spider-Man Homecoming, which I've seen a million times, and I also saw it in the cinema as well. Likewise, I saw Spider-Man No Way Home 3 times on the big screen. Am I gonna go back and watch it? I don't know, maybe for the cinematic experience, but I don't see any need to over the Raimi films. Either way, I just think this whole argument of MCU Spider-Man being bad because of these new box office numbers is completely absurd. Just to round up, the hardcore fans that are watching these re-releases do not represent the general populace and view of MCU Spider-Man, and also people are more likely to go and see older films because they either didn't grow up on them, didn't get to see them in cinema, or they just haven't seen them for a long time. Yes, you don't have to like MCU Spider-Man, I understand that. I personally like all three Spider-Men, but if you don't like one of them, that is completely fine. But using this as an argument to justify that opinion is complete nonsense. If you click here, you can watch my video on MCU Spider-Man 4 and everything that we currently know about the film. I want to give a massive shout out to the members. You guys are absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for continuing to support the channel. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe. We're so close to 30,000 subscribers, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care and peace.